Coming up on this episode of the Nerf This podcast, Kage joins Synthetic. Is Chun-Li OP? Qualifiers announced for the $3.7 million nation-based esports tournament. OpenOverwatch Week 3, and all about Super Smash Con on this episode of Nerf This TV. And now that I've turned down the music, welcome to this episode of the Nerf This podcast, featuring a fly that is buzzing around my head. It is me, Corey, joined by Kenny. Hi, Kenny. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing goddamn-tastic. I had a long day at work. I know that you had a long day off. And it's all coming up roses for me because I get to come here, be tired as hell, and do a show with you.
I'm not much better on the tired front, but yeah, we'll go with that.
We missed a week last week. We postponed this one for various reasons, and we're here doing it now. We're going to talk about some Smash Con and stuff like that and all that nonsense. But first, we haven't really covered what you did the weekend previous.
Yes, Fragapalooza.
Fragapalooza. Tell me what happened at Fragapalooza.
So, during the 4-day event, there was multiple tournaments that ran around. Some of the major ones were Counter-Strike, Global Offense. You had an Overwatch tournament. I got to participate in that a little bit, as well as get a recording of one of the matches, at least.
Oh, cool.
There was Killer Instinct, Halo 5. There was even a Bomberman tournament.
That's awesome.
On the old Super Nintendo.
That is so awesome, dude. We back on my old channel, Salt and Pepper Gaming, we had a versus thing, and we played Bomberman for one of those. I love that game.
Yeah, it was on the big screen, and everyone got to watch. There was also Smash 64.
Yes. Yes.
There was a group of guys that had the old Nintendo plus a SNES, and they had games like Turtles in Time, all the good old classics you could think of. He probably had. Even Street Fighter.
The old school Street Fighter?
Oh, yeah.
I dig that.
And so I participated in the Killer Instinct tournament. And it was a best of one. All the way up to semis.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went to best of 3.
It's kind of a weird way to do it. You normally see it best of 3, then best of 5, but I guess this isn't like a legit Killer Instinct tournament. This is just...
It was a Microsoft representative running it. It wasn't one of the main tournaments, I guess. So they kind of had a small time frame to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So they'd do it based on that.
But you had fun.
Oh, yeah.
There was that League of Legends one that you were telling me about, the... singles League of Legends tournament?
That I also participated in. Funny thing was, there's a guy that I know from another event that happens in Olds in November.
Mm-hmm.
The gaming event there. He was there as well, and we happened to be the first 2 matched against each other.
I love that. I love meeting friends in brackets. Because when we went to one of the salt flats, get out of here, fly. When we went to
destroyed.
I'm so angry. I'm trying to record a podcast here. I went to one of the salt flats, which is one of our locally ran tournaments.
Yep.
I'm not saying that for you. I'm saying that for the audience. You already know what salt flats is.
Of course.
And there was a guy who's very prominent in Smash. I would consider him the best Peach player in Alberta and one of the top 10 players in Alberta. And he had never played any anime games before, so me and him got matched up in when Under Night and Birth was big. We got matched up in Under Night and Birth, very first match, and I'm like, let's just have fun with it, because I knew I'd bop him, which made me feel bad. So I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna play a different character.
Yeah,
we're just gonna have fun with it.
Yeah, for sure. Always usually nice to see when you can do that with the player base of some games, at least, for sure.
I'm pretty sure that you and me, one of the very first tournaments that you went to, met in bracket.
Yep. It was Blaze. It was the Blaze Blue one
Yeah, Blaze Blue. That was fun.
because I lost first game.
Ha ha ha.
The guy was kind of purposely not doing anything.
Yeah,
I was like,
you
just
get
end it.
you get those people that are kind of dicks about it.
Mhm.
Like, there's this guy who he is like one of the best in Alberta at Blaze Blue, but except that he talks a lot of shit on Twitter. However, he and I were fighting, and he knew that he could just mess around with me, and I hate that. Like, if you're gonna be better than somebody, don't like lord it over them.
Yeah,
They're clearly trying to get better if they're competing.
exactly.
I don't know. That's just my view on it.
I agree on that totally. Regardless, though, I did my matches with him. It went 2-1. All 3 games were very close. Came down to like a single hit to 2 hits of life left on each of us, usually.
Yeah, nice.
When it decided the winner. I then recorded his matchup next and kind of commentated that on that as well. I just have to edit the videos because I suck. I don't know why my brain wasn't functioning that day.
Well, at least your brain's functioning now, and we have news.
Yeah.
Let's get into the news. So,
Yes.
Cage the Warrior. Not Cage.
What's a note for me not to pronounce it?
I know, and then I read the website, and it's like, Cage the Warrior. I'm like, that doesn't look right. Anyway, Kage the Warrior joins Synthetic. Synthetic is a Canadian-born esports team. They sponsor other likes, but Kage, being one of the smashers that they sponsor, is an amazing Ganon player. He has some of the hypest matches up on YouTube if you ever want to go check him out, and that's pretty awesome that Canadians are getting sponsored by these people. Even someone who's kind of plays a considered low tier character like Kage.
Yeah, it's definitely good to see some Canadian blood getting into tournaments, and I guess a little bit of American blood too, even though we don't like them as much.
Yeah, well, like us being Canadians, we don't get represented in games that much. I mean, to Canadians' credit, Ally won Smash 4 at Evo, and he is Canadian. So Canada has won an Evo in something, which is awesome.
Yes, for sure.
But
Something that I didn't think would have happened with how I've seen kind of the standings as before.
I don't know what it is with Canada, man. Canada with competitive gaming, it doesn't place high typically. Hearthstone, we have a lot of good players. But fighting game wise, like the most notable Street Fighter player that I can think of in Canada is Air and Lap Chi.
Yeah.
And both of them, like Air is a really, really good, serious competitor. Lap Chi is kind of a jokey kind of guy, like nobody takes him seriously.
Yeah. So,
But he does host some good tournaments. Shout out to Canada Cup.
yeah, that's when they show, at least it's nice, because then we show that we are capable of some stuff. It's just, it seems that when it comes to, I guess we'll call it crunch time, we fail at
Yeah.
crunch time.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, us Canadians are too nice. We get up on stage and the pressure gets to us. We're
Yeah,
just like,
right.
sorry. We'll let you win.
Apologize all day.
I was pretty excited to see Kage in the news, so I wanted to include him. Not much more to say other than he got signed, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how he takes this and works with it.
I kind of hope to see him show up to more tournaments. Honestly, I haven't really seen him at any huge tournaments other than the ones that I've seen on YouTube that are like a year or two old, and he's not outdated. He doesn't deserve that. Moving on to some Street Fighter talk. Apparently, people are saying that Chun-Li is a little too OP. It says during the Capcom Pro Tour that Chun-Li has been dominant in top 8s, but I don't think that any Chun-Li has ever really won a major.
No.
It's mostly been Nash's and Armika and Ryu. But Chun, yeah, while she is a little powerful in this game, she doesn't, and she does take up a few slots in the top 8. She doesn't win.
Hmm. Um, yeah, it's not a. She has that kit that helps her a lot because she can be really defensive and then just flip a switch and go full offensive and just keep all the mix-ups, and then usually it's hard to tell where she's going to go. But once people, I feel, learn more of how to just deal with that pressure,
Mm-hmm.
it'll drop her a few pegs.
I think one of the things that she is lacking, like you said, she's a very all-around character. However, I think that plays to her downfall because she's an all-around character. She's like a jack of all trades, master of none type situation. Whereas people like Ryu and Nash, they're way more aggressive in this game. Like Ryu used to be that card that you played, the one that's good at everything but not great at anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And Chun-Li has sort of fallen into that, where you'll see her in top 8s, she's really good. She's really hard to deal with at times, especially in certain matchups like Zangief and stuff like that. She's like, Chun-Li just walks all over Zangief. But against the super aggressives, the Nash, the Ryu, the Armika, the mix-up heavy characters, it's just, she doesn't stack up.
No, exactly.
Something interesting that I read about, or that I read in this article, is who's jockeying for the top 3 in North America in the Street Fighter right now. And it says that Justin Wong is by far and large the best in America. And I got my top 3. I got Justin Wong is in there, but I don't think he's first. I think L.I. Joe performed so well at EVO that he's hard to deny.
Yeah.
I think that Justin Wong is right underneath him, and then I think that PR Balrog is coming up the end there in my top 3.
Yeah, no, for sure. Pretty much just L.I. Joe, I should say. I agree with you on being really, really good, especially with his performance at EVO. He really put on a show and showed that he's capable, if at least going toe-to-toe with some of the best, and can even take some games off of them at times. So there is possibility of him doing better in the future, of course, but that puts him at top for me. I would almost say if PR Balrog just had a little more time playing with the character before the tournament, I feel he could have placed easily top 16, if not top 8.
Yeah, I would put him in top 8 easily. But Balrog was a fresh character just off the market, and not a lot of people knew what to do with him. But PR Balrog has shown that he just has this weird sense with Balrog that he can just dominate with Balrog, no matter how much time he has with it, how much time he has to learn this new trick, and give him a little more time, and that guy's going to be winning tournaments.
Yeah, exactly.
I really hope by the end of the year, once Capcom Cup comes up, that we see him there. I think it's top 16 this year. I'm not entirely sure. It was top 8 last year, but
yeah.
Yeah. So that's your little bit of Street Fighter right now. How things are looking in North America and how things are looking in the Capcom Pro Tour at large. We got an interesting thing on this little news thing that I have going here. $3.7 million up for grabs for this nation-based esports tournament. Now that's the important bit, that it's nation-based. So almost like an esports Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
Definitely interesting because it's throwing a lot of the games in. Because it'll throw CSGO. It's throwing in the Dota 2, Hearthstone, StarCraft, as it says here.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll definitely be interesting because it is over a 4-month span.
Yeah.
That they'll be competing for this money.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting to. I like the game choices because I believe that that's where esports is right now. At least in terms of big business, is those four games sort of dominate the big esports industry right now. Especially like StarCraft 2 has been up there for God knows how long.
StarCraft 2 goes back all the way to Brood Wars when it was that was in the competitive scene.
Yeah, and StarCraft has just carried esports from its roots to where it is now. I give all credit to StarCraft for where we are now in the esports community.
StarCraft and Dota.
And Dota.
I'd give it a split.
And Dota, and where we see Dota here, there's no surprise. I am a little surprised that League of Legends wasn't thrown in, just given how huge it is.
Yeah, it's just I think the way Riot's approaching it, because this would cut into their worlds.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, you tend to see companies stick to the stuff that they host. That's why you don't see a lot of like underground Blizzard game run tournaments. But Blizzard's all for this apparently.
Yeah, it seems.
Yeah, but Blizzard normally likes to keep their stuff at BlizzCon, and their hosted tournaments, like all the Hearthstone qualifiers and the StarCraft qualifiers. They like to keep that centralized.
Yeah, no, of course.
And then CS:GO. So you have two companies at play here. You have Valve and you have Blizzard.
Yep.
And CS:GO has been huge, man. Like I remember watching DreamHack CS:GO stuff. That was incredible, and the crowd is huge for that game. And the skill cap isn't too high.
No.
So a lot of countries should be represented. But what do you think about esports being a sport and esports being something as big as the Olympics? Do you think that players should get the same recognition as athletes, or do you think that it's two completely different things?
I think that it's just there's a little difference in between it, because yes, they both have to put many hours of the day to do what they do. So like a StarCraft player usually has to play a couple games. He'll play like 6-7 hours, and then he goes back and looks through his games, see if he did mistakes, see what he can improve, stuff like that. To give an example. Whereas an athlete from the Olympics is like, okay, they're training this, and this. This is their training regimen. This is their timings. It generally rounds the same thing. The only difference is that some of the Olympics are a multitude of things. So like you have your strength trainings, all the different type of trainings that you have to do. Whereas for a video game, you only have to worry kind of the mental aspect. So like the pressure of being on a stage, making sure stress doesn't get to you, or nerves, or trying your best to anyway. And muscle memory is the only other real thing that you have to kind of train yourself to do. And I do get where people are coming from, where they want it to be as big as the Olympics, but I don't quite think it's there yet.
Yeah.
Maybe if there was something that caused a little what's the word I'm trying to look for here? Kind of same, I guess we'll say, risk reward as the Olympics, then sure, go for it. But until it hits that point, because you're still able to do things if you get tendonitis, for example.
Yeah.
Whereas if you break a leg, well, you might not compete in the event.
Yeah, well, there is I like what you brought up about the mental thing, because I believe that's what separates esports from Olympics and general sports, where a lot of people who get into esports, they're very intelligent. They have to use their brain more than their body, whereas athletes have to use their body more than their brain. They don't really have to think about how to run. They just have to run. They don't have to think about how they're going to dribble a ball in basketball. They just have to do it and do it well.
Exactly. It just comes down to a muscle memory at that point.
And to some extent, video games are muscle memory as well. That's we're going to talk later in the show about training and bad habits and stuff. And once you get locked into muscle memory, it's very hard to break that.
Oh yeah, yeah, I do it all the time.
Oh yeah, trust me too. don't even begin to imagine how many times I've lost tournaments and how much I've lost in friendlies just because of muscle memory. It's embarrassing. But I think the thing that's holding video games back is the negative stigma around them, and I think that it will never have a nationally recognized feature as big as the Olympics, where the country is super proud that you won gold at Dota.
Yeah.
Because it's a video game and people the Evo being broadcast on ESPN was enough to show us that it's not ready for the mainstream, because everyone was like, what is this video games, where's my sports ball, video games are for nerds, and there's that whole stigma. There is certainly enough interest in it to have a giant audience, but there isn't enough to have a national pride based around it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think it's also going to have to wait until either near the end of our generation, I'm going to say. So, like, when we're, like, 40, 50, or our kids, or the next generation, it might then become something more.
I don't know about you, but I'm still going to be playing Melee in my 40s.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be that person that tries to be good at StarCraft, man.
Yeah. We're just going to start picking up new games and be like, back in our day.
You're right.
We kick your ass.
And then play against our kids and get raped.
And that's another point, too. You will never in the Olympics see a 15-year-old kid that can beat these 30 to 40-year-old athletes.
Yeah.
Yet in Street Fighter and in Smash and in Dota and in Hearthstone,
Magic.
Yeah, any game you can name, a 15-year-old kid can perform as well as an older guy. Maybe even better, because as you get older in video games, you start to lose a little bit of that brain capacity. You start to lose a little bit of that finger dexterity, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So,
arthritis is the bitch, guys.
Dude, like, think about how many times Mewtwo King has hurt his hand playing Melee, or hacks even. And by the way, I know that I'm going to talk about Melee a lot. It's because I'm fucking obsessed. We'll get to that in a little bit. Anyway, I think it's an interesting discussion to have, and if I'm going to do this at any point in the show, I would like to call out to the audience that whatever audience we have, to leave your opinions on an eSports Olympics down there. Moving on to OpenOverwatch Week 3. We covered this for 2 weeks in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And
sure.
I made sure that I didn't miss a week. So so we got
in Week 3.
So let's cover North America first here.
Okay.
We got rounding off the top 3. Envious placing first, Complexity placing second, and Cloud9 placing third. Wait.
Oh no.
Like,
Week 3.
Week 3.
We're bad.
I'm like, this sounds familiar. Cloud9 shouldn't be there.
No,
because Cloud9 won Week 2. Anyway, Fnatic won.
Yeah.
Complexity 2. How many times have they won second? Just twice. And NRG Esports rounding off the top 3. Do you remember last week? We made predictions.
So, my predictions, I had thought, because of the Week 2, Fnatic was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I had also went with Team Liquid.
Yeah, I remember that too. I think I said Team Liquid as well, didn't I?
Mm-hmm. No.
Or did I say Fnatic?
You said Fnatic. We both said Fnatic. We just put them in different places. Because I thought Fnatic would have been first, Team Liquid second, Complexity third.
Okay.
And
you weren't too far off.
No, Complexity did better than I predicted. Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah.
Liquid, a little bit underwhelming, but they still seem like they can push it. Mm-hmm. And possibly get that first place spot next week.
Yeah, well, they got one more week left.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see who comes up now, because we got a lot of people that were competing for those top three slots. We got them out of there, so now maybe Team Liquid could get over that hurdle. Like maybe they were struggling with Fnatic, maybe they were struggling with Cloud9 or NRG, and maybe we'll see an NRG Team Liquid Grand Finals next week or this week coming.
Also, because we're bad, week 4 is done.
Is it done?
Yeah.
I was just checking this.
I just clicked on qualifier standings.
Week 4 is done. Complexity wins.
So much for
dude. No. Okay, listen. All right, podcast for a second. Just bear with me. I checked this before we went online. I seriously did. So did it just finish?
I guess so.
Is Europe up?
Yep. Luminosity.
Alright, we're covering week 3 and week 4 because we missed a week. You get bonus content this week. I'm actually excited. I have to go watch that.
Yeah.
Alright.
I have to now too.
So, Fnatic won last week. Forget them. They're old news. Complexity wins.
So Team Liquid coming up.
Where am I? Team Liquid didn't... So, Team Liquid didn't even qualify. I don't know how the end tournament works, like the tournament that they were building towards, because I know these are just qualifiers. I don't know if just those 4 teams will be in it, but
don't know
if it's like a top 8 thing, then NRG, Team Liquid, Sodipop, and Splice will all be in it as well. However, if it is just those top 4, we got the top 4 here: Envious, Cloud9, Fnatic, and Complexity. And I actually like that top 4 a lot.
Oh yes, it puts a lot of there's a lot of variety here in this top 4, especially in playstyle and kind of what teams prioritize over others.
Oh yeah, very much so. You see Cloud9 going for a lot more defensive strategies, whereas Envious goes for a lot more offensive strategies, stuff like that.
Yeah, also in map choices, because I think Cloud9 likes Route 66 a lot more as one of their defend the point picks.
Yeah.
When they get a choice. And team like Fnatic, they like King's Row more, or another one I can't remember.
There was a team that I was watching. It might have been the Europe, but there was a team that I was watching that absolutely dominates on the King of the Hill maps, where they sucked. I'm sorry, they sucked at the defend the point ones where they had to push the payload and defend the payload. They sucked at those ones, but anytime it came up to a King of the Hill one, they rocked it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was Rogue, which qualified in week 2.
Yeah, it sounds like something they did.
And moving over to week 3, we have a week 3 on the Europe side. I'm all confused now. You got me all discombobulated. Can't do a podcast like this. By the way, the fly is still buzzing around my head. Anyway, we got Reunited. Reunited won, finally. I talked last week about how they've been vetting for those top few spots. Even they placed 5th on week 1, but they placed 2nd on week 2, and they've been fighting for it, man. So they finally got it in week 3.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. I watched them play on week 2, and they were a good team.
Of course. And then week 4 going to Luminosity.
Luminosity! I love Luminosity. I watched them in other games. I've never watched them in Overwatch.
Following up behind them with Immortals, and then Creation Esports.
Yeah, it's a little
tied with Melty Esports Club.
Yeah, it's a little heartbreaking to see Creation because they place top 3 literally every week.
Yeah.
So they did deserve to be in at least like one of the qualifiers, but and they are a strong team. Like don't count them out.
Oh no, especially showing that they can get 2nd place or 3rd place,
and overall standings they're first. Besides the qualifiers, they're first.
Exactly.
So I do kind of hope that we will see a top 8 bracket where it's based on points, and then because why would they have the point system otherwise?
unless this is like, okay, here's your guys, you're guaranteed. You won't have to do any more tournaments. We're gonna have more down the road, and your points are gonna determine your seed.
I have it.
Oh, you do? Cool.
I have it. All right, the format. 4 weekly open tournaments running on Saturday and Sunday with up to 128 to 256 teams. Top 32 teams receive ranking points. Winner of each qualifiers go into playoffs, joined by 12 teams with the most ranking points. That's how it's done. Playoff teams divided into 4 groups of 4 to battle for 8 live final spots.
Okay.
So, first place would always get directly to playoffs. Second place would always get 22 points. I should have covered this the first week that we covered this. However, now we know.
Yeah.
So that means it says top 12 teams.
Yep.
North America, we got. So does that mean the 4 teams and then another 12?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so we got NRG, Team Liquid, Sody Pop, Splice, Selfless, Colorado Clutch, Sea Algae, Method, Northern Gaming, Gecko Fox, Mono, I'm Your Huckleberry, and the XDs. Some of these names, man.
You wonder how some people come up with them.
God. And in Europe, we got Creation, Ninjas in Pajamas.
Yeah, they're in a few games, and it's just funny every time. I think going a little off topic, the Ninjas in Pajamas on the league scene.
Yeah.
I think they did not go to a single game without wearing their pajamas.
Yes.
They literally showed up in their pajamas because every game they played was
man,
the first game in the morning.
You got like Cloud9 and them wearing their jerseys. Ninjas in Pajamas are just wearing their jerseys.
Yeah, exactly. They're wearing their comfy jerseys, man.
Man, I want to be part of Ninjas in Pajamas. I'll be the first Smash player sponsored by them.
Cool.
We got Anox, Immortals, Melty Esports Club. Is that Melty Blood? Anyway. Pretz, Bringos, Overwatch Kings.
Yeah.
Get it.
There we go.
Get it, got it, good. And NY, B-Fly, Bikini, LEMX,
Lemix.
and other team. Wow, there's 3 spots for 11 here. That's interesting. And other team. So that's Overwatch Open. We're done qualifiers. We're going into playoffs, it's going to be fun. I'm excited to follow this tournament scene.
And then the gatekeepers, which you forgot, which was also 11 on Europe.
I know, but I'm confused on how that goes.
That's a 4-way tie, I think.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to determine that. Because it's only the top 12 teams.
Yeah, but aren't they still doing, like I said, more points in theory because there's more opens before the finals?
No, there was just 4 weeks of playoffs.
Oh, okay.
That was it. Moving on to our major discussion of the week, something that just happened this past weekend. SmashCon. I'm excited to talk about it because I'm way into Melee right now.
Yeah, and I tried watching as much as I could, but busy I was, for sure.
Well, let me wrap it up for you. Mango is still the GOAT. Greatest of all time. There are dogs barking in the background. I don't care. I'm still doing this podcast. It's a train wreck. Grand Finals was Mango and Hungrybox, which is not a Grand Finals that we are unbeknownst to. We see that quite often.
Yes, for sure.
Rounding off the top 3 are the only 3 gods that were in attendance: Mewtwo, King, Mango, and Hungrybox. For the rest of your top 8, we have Axe, Shroomed, SFAT, Pew Pew U, and Westballs. I love that SFAT and Westballs were there. Let me tell you why I love that. They're the only 2 people that play Space Animals in an interesting way.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely bring a different dynamic to Space Animals.
Westballs is so aggressive. SFAT is so well-rounded that it makes it fun to watch Space Animals again. I hate watching Fox Mirrors, but I love watching SFAT play. I love every Falco I see, but Westballs is by far my favorite.
Yeah. And then bringing up a little side note of what Axe did, kind of, in where he brought out some other picks that he doesn't normally do.
That was weird. I didn't know that Axe knew any other character but Pikachu. He played Marth.
Yeah, well when it was the top 16 or top 8,
yeah.
he had also played Young Link.
What?
Yeah,
I missed that.
It was Pikachu versus Peach, because he was playing against MacD.
MacD, yeah.
And game 1, he played Pikachu. He won. Game 2, he switched to Young Link because it was on Fountain of Dreams. For some reason.
Was it? I thought he played Marth.
Nope, that was Young Link.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah, played Young Link, lost.
You know what? Okay, let me talk about Axe for a second. Axe is a player that you know is good. And you know why you know he's good? Because he plays low-tier characters and does well.
Exactly.
He knows his stuff. He knows his tech skill. He like, if he picked up a space animal, he might be deadly.
He might even have a pocket pick space animal that he just hasn't shown yet.
And apparently, he has all these characters that I don't know about.
Oh, I think they mentioned it in commentary. Like he had a list of like 5 or 6 other characters.
Yeah, well, they do this Iron Man challenge thing. I don't know if you ever heard of this, where the Iron Man challenge is actually you have. Do you know? You're familiar with the crew battle, right?
Yes.
Where everyone has their stocks pulled together, and then if someone gets taken out, the other person starts with however many stocks they left off fighting the other person.
Yes.
So say the first 2 people, one has 2 stocks left and he knocks the other guy out. When they go down to the next guy, he still has 2 stocks left, but this guy has 4.
Yep.
They do that, but with characters. And I know that Axe frequently plays this, where where they'll pick. Most of the time, the traditional Iron Man challenge is the full cast, but some of them are just pick 5 characters that you think you'll do well with, and you pool their stocks. And if you lose with one character, you go to the next. Blah 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 blah.
Okay.
So I think that Axe plays those often, and he does well in those because he has so much skill and knowledge of the lower tier.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Axe is surprising every time I watch him because I didn't think Pikachu could do that. Pikachu, a lot of people like to call the poor man's Fox because of his up smash, and because he's fast.
Yeah.
So it's like a really ghetto Fox essentially. But then you have Shroomed, which I said back in our Evo discussion is one of my favorite Sheiks to watch. Still holds true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I would have liked to see Plup. I would have liked to see Plup there representing Sheik, but Shroom did just fine. And then you have I don't know if you got to catch any of this. Amza. Does that name ring a bell to you?
No.
Only notable Yoshi player in existence.
I saw some highlights with him where he hit like telegraphed eggs.
Yeah, dude, that guy's like telepathic with his eggs. Who was he playing? I don't know if it was Wizzy. Might not have been Wizzy, but he threw an egg off of the. He was ledge hogging. He threw an egg up, and it just landed on the person that was trying to recover, and just like janked him down off the edge. It was hilarious to watch, and I think Amza, for someone who doesn't watch Smash a lot, Amza is a really exciting player to watch.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like it. Yeah, for sure. I gotta get on that.
We had my roommate and his girlfriend up here watching Smash, and she every time Amza came on the screen, she was like, "Oh my god, the Yoshi player!" I'm like, everybody cheers for the Yoshi player, apparently. And he's Japanese. That's an interesting thing to note. You don't see very many Japanese players in the mix in Melee, but Amza is incredible. But yeah, Mango's still proving that he is the greatest of all time.
Which is going to take a little while, I think, to take him off his throne anyway.
Well,
Depends.
Mango slipped for a while, man, and there hasn't been many tournaments where he just stayed in winners bracket the whole time. Most of the time, he gets to top 8, immediately gets put into losers, or he goes into top 8 in losers, and then comes back and wins the whole thing, and everyone's all excited, blah, blah, blah. But
Yeah.
this time, Mango never dropped a set. He got in top 8 in winners, stayed in winners, beat Hungrybox in winners, done. Tournament in the bag. And part of me was a little disappointed because I would have liked... I'm still waiting for that upset. I'm still waiting for the gods to get beat by somebody. Not Leffen, because, excuse my French, fuck Leffen.
Yeah, he's a fucking douchebag.
He's a villain.
You want to know how to misrepresent a game? Throw Leffen at it.
No shit. Just look at his Twitter.
Yeah, enough said.
I'm not gonna sit here and spend all night talking shit about Leffen, but please.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was SmashCon. SmashCon was fun to watch, man. It was. I like all these major Smash tournaments. They get pretty exciting. And Smash, you never know what's gonna happen. There's a fly buzzing right at the microphone. Did you hear that?
Yeah, fucking fly. God damn it, Tim.
Stop ruining my recording.
We're gonna name him Tim.
I don't like you.
Tim.
Go away. Okay.
We're good.
So, that's really all we needed to cover about SmashCon. We're having a lot of fun in this podcast. I think this is a relaxing podcast.
I do too. Now the last thing is tech.
Yeah, let's move into some tech. So we do this every week. We try to cover something that will make you get better, or that gives you something to think about, to take home and do some homework on it. And I wanted to talk about how to practice not developing bad habits, just generally getting yourself better at the game of your choice. And I'm going to try to make this as general as possible, but the reason that I started thinking about this is because I downloaded something called 20XX for Melee, which is specifically developed to make you a better Melee player. And what I think comes with getting better at a game is breaking bad habits. You pick up a game casually and you start developing these things that you think work, but that end up just getting destroyed by top players. And I think learning a game properly helps you break that boundary between casual and competitive. So I want to hear first your thoughts on how to get better at a game.
Now I gotta think.
Now you got to think.
Right? Damn it, I wasn't using my brain. But going back to that, I feel at least putting in so much amount of practice in a day usually is one of the big things. So even if you have to do like yourself a small schedule where you're like, okay, from this to this time I'm doing this game and this is what I'm practicing. So like for example, we'll give Hearthstone an example. When I deck build and stuff, I'll play the deck for 4 or 5 hours, even if I have to play it in casual. If I don't want to really ruin my rank, because I might be like 14, 15. Or if I just don't really care, then I'll throw in rank. But I'll play the deck for a couple hours, see how it runs, and then I go and be like, okay, well, this isn't working. What's causing me not to have it work? And then see if I can think outside the box. Going to fighting games, I know I have the biggest thing I do in fighting games that should not do. It's a very bad habit. It's about as bad as drugs. Is I have a tendency to button mash.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get started on that. I think a lot of like the whole conversation around it is, what's so impressive about fighting games? I could beat you by smashing buttons, and that's the thing. I think that in fighting games, and I think that in games of that caliber, what separates the men from the boys is defense, because a lot of people think if I'm pressing all these buttons, nobody can hit me. Like if somebody just blocks, wait for you to make a mistake, and then uppercuts your ass or whatever, or just combos your ass into oblivion,
Exactly.
you're done.
Yeah.
And you've quickly learned the mistake that you make. And I think that's another thing. That's another thing that I'd like to bring up about how to get better at video games, is to be taught what you're doing wrong the hard way.
Exactly.
Bring it to a tournament, do exactly your game plan, and then see where your game plan has holes.
Yeah.
Bring it on the ranked ladders in Hearthstone. See where your game has holes. It's something that you were kind of covering, is where does this deck lack and where does this deck fail? And that's exactly what I'm talking about, just finding the holes in your game.
Yeah, and another thing is sometimes some people have, as you were stating, like that mentality or that mindset, and that could also be a negative, but a positive at the same time. It all depends on what kind of mindset or what you bring when it comes to that. Because you could have a mindset where you go in, I'm going to do this, and then it doesn't work. But if you don't change it, then they're going to just continually react to the to what you're doing wrong, because you're repeating yourself instead of trying something new.
Well, that is a good point to another big thing that I say is adapt.
Yep.
Where like if you went back to week 1 and you did the homework that I assigned you in week 1 of this podcast, you watched the Smash documentary, and you watched PC Chris learn a hard lesson that there is a downfall to just being aggressive all the time. And that's exactly what I was saying. Sometimes you got to be defensive, and that's what Ken adapted to PC Chris's playstyle by throwing in that counter, Marth's counter.
Yeah.
And when you adapt, it can completely shut down somebody's game. Somebody can think, oh my god, they figured me out. And then if you don't have that mindset to take a minute, maybe between matches, and go, okay, what did I learn? What are they doing? What should I do? And if you take that time, I think that you can significantly improve the way that you can compete. It can happen in the lower level brackets where you're struggling against new players that are doing scrubby tactics, and it can help you in the high tier brackets where people are playing perfectly, and you have to know how to counter the perfection.
Exactly.
So being able to switch up on the fly and practice every scenario. If you have the opportunity to sit down and practice every scenario, pick a practice partner, go online, do whatever you have to do. If you can practice against as many diverse players as you possibly can, as many matchups as you possibly can, this applies to every game in Hearthstone, in Street Fighter, in Melee, in League of Legends even.
Yep.
If you practice against as many different playstyles as possible, you will remember that scenario when it comes up, when it matters.
Of course. And like, to bring that up, like during the Killer Instinct tournament, I definitely feel like I should have gotten first, but the mentality that I went in wasn't the proper one to go in with, because I knew that they had another thing that I should mention was almost everyone there didn't know how to play, so the combo assist was on for a lot of the players.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, no, I'm not going to win the combo assist, because that's just going to be, no. It's not going to be me, then I'm not going to be playing my 100%. So I always would turn it off when I went in. And then, of course, it was just a super aggressive guy who played Saberwolf in Killer Instinct. But I didn't play enough against aggression to know the exact kind of timings where I could punish him.
Mm-hmm. You didn't know the holes in his aggression.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Which caused me to lose 2 games because I would try things and then I just started going into like kind of a panic.
Yeah.
In game 2, and then just started falling apart.
And just like we've been saying, the easiest way to plan for that is to practice against as many people as you possibly can.
Yep.
And I think that with what I was talking about earlier, 20XX. So 20XX is built on the Melee game. It's built on the ISO. And what it does is it completely changes the game to where it shows you where you're failing your L cancels. It'll make your character flash red if you miss an L cancel. That's giving your mind information saying, I'm messing this up and I need to fix it. And then that kind of helps your muscle memory over time. And it also changes the computers to act like tournament level players, where they're wave dashing, they're dash dancing, they're tossing you left, right, and center, they're doing optimal combos. They don't have the mind games that a player would have. They don't have the decide on the fly thing, but they are definitely giving you practice against the tech skill of a pro player.
For sure.
And I think that it's very important to play against real people, where I will use 20XX up to a certain point, but up to a certain point is where it will start failing me because I don't get to play against someone who can think and who can adapt. I'm playing against a computer, and computers have patterns.
Exactly, and once you learn the patterns, it's at that point you're like, well, I know what you're going to do here, so I'm just going to do this, and you don't get as much of a learning experience as you would with an actual player.
Exactly. So take that to the bank, audience. Go out, find your practice partner, find your method of practicing, find how to get better at video games, because that's all what we're here to do on Nerf This TV. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed this episode. Kenny, did you enjoy this episode?
I definitely did.
Hey, flying around my room. Did you enjoy this episode?
I think
Good.
Tim says yes.
Fuck you. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Peace out.
Peace.